Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
9.5 Weeks was a popular movie in the 70s, but that isn't the story today. Chris Shurian has 9.5 children, so he's uniquely qualified to share about reproduction. And
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, reproduction, because at 9.5 kids, Chris, I haven't had a guest in my time running this podcast. We're about 200 episodes in where someone has had 9.5 kids. You've got to unwrap that for us, please.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, Mitch, I do live in Utah.
Okay,
I am.
perfect.
It makes more sense already.
Yeah.
I am a retired member of the Mormon Church, so one might think, well, that makes sense, right? Well, let me tell you where I'm at. My first wife, beautiful, beautiful lady. We were blessed with three wonderful children. That marriage ended up ending in divorce about 10 years ago. And then I
Mhm.
was fortunate enough to meet wife number two, who's just once again a huge blessing in my life. I'm every morning I pinch myself to wake myself up from this dream that I'm married to this beautiful woman, and she had three boys. So we combined, we created a family of six immediately, and then my oldest daughter, married. So there's seven. Our my wife's second son is married. There's eight. My wife's oldest son is married. There's nine. Well, my daughter-in-law has a brother. His name's Andrew, and he's just an awesome human being, and we have adopted him into our family as one of our own. He spends more time at our house than he does anywhere else, so hence the 9.5. Now, if some of our kids are acting up, we tell them they might be the half at that moment, right? That half might rotate around our kids depending on what kind of attitude they're throwing at us. But 9.5 kids, super fortunate, awesome humans, great members of society, and like I said, I'm going to use this word. We seriously have been blessed.
You spoke very favorably about your ex-wife. That
Hmm.
is rare. Usually it's, oh, that blank, blank, blank. You can fill it in with the expletives or not.
Yeah.
That is rare. I also am a member of the divorce club. Mine was
Yeah.
20 years ago, and it wasn't a fun unraveling, let's just say. And I didn't have kids. We didn't have children together. We had belongings and stuff. And then there was the squabble over that. You must have had an unceremonious parting in order to speak favorably about her. Yeah, and it's
Uh,
been 10 years.
yeah. So we were married 23 years, had three kids, and we just it's hard to explain, but we weren't the same as we were when we got married, and so our divorce did take 7 years, Mitch. So it was a 7 year long situation, and I could blame most of that on the attorneys, her attorney in particular. But she's a great woman. She was a great wife. She was a great mother, and it was me that needed to go out and find my soulmate. I don't feel like I married my soulmate the first time around, and so it's all on me. Now it was hard. 7 year divorce is hard. It's expensive, but I took the responsibility of taking care of my family very seriously. So I never once uh, leveraged finances over her. I never used that to force her into, divorcing sooner. I took care of my family from day one. And when we finally settled on the divorce, I think it was amicable. I turned her life upside down. So I know my part in this whole situation. And then I was able to marry my soulmate, and we've been married. We've been together for 7 years. Our families have blended just beautifully. I have a great relationship with her boys. She has a great relationship with my kids, and so yeah, round number two is certainly a whole different experience. Better, but once again, my ex-wife is a great person, a great human, and a great mother. And I don't think we don't hang out. We live in the same town. We live about a mile apart. But it is what it is. We have three beautiful kids, and life is good.
I know this is a typical non-discussed topic, or it's a non-discussed topic. It has not been discussed once on any of my shows, but I
Yeah.
felt it necessary to bring that up because it's a human uh, reality, especially being Americans. I think most of my male friends that I grew up with have experienced divorce. I
Hmm.
don't know. I got to think of, is there anyone that I know who is still married after all these years? I mean, we're close in age. I'm a little bit older, and but of my group, no, no, and I don't know anybody that speaks so well of their exes like you, and or maybe just a few years have transpired, or you've got a new love also, which happens because if you haven't replaced it, I think that matters in some cases.
Yeah, and and I'm being genuine. Like if you would ask me the same question, you know, 10, 12, 13 years ago when I was in the middle of that ugly divorce, I would have said the same thing, right? I really truly believe that. So it's not because of time, it's not because of my new love, but it's the reality of it. And I knew it was my decision. You know, when my parents divorced when I was very young, and it wasn't pretty.
Mm.
And as a child, I watched my dad, leverage his wealth against my mother, and my mother had to work two jobs, even though my dad was, kind of a celebrity in the day, and doing very well financially. He was bitter, and I saw what that did, and that has had a long-term impact on my relationship with my father, who passed away, I guess about 8 years ago. But it had a long-term impact on that relationship, and I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be different. I wanted to, that's just not how I think. It's just how my mindset is. I'm programmed. I'm very optimistic. And everything in my life I look at in that direction, in that standpoint, from that
Well, and
standpoint.
I think it's the glasses we choose to wear. It's the lens
Yeah.
that we choose to view life through matters. It's our own responsibility to do that. And you mentioned, I think you're the first person I've met in some years. My protracted divorce took 5 years, and I was
Hmm.
married to my attorney. So getting unmarried from my lawyer was not a fun process, but I don't,
I can imagine.
I could learn from you and speaking more glowingly about her, but that would have been hard because it wasn't amicable. It was a fight from the word go all the way till
Yeah.
the end, and no involvement. Fortunately, we didn't have the kids to share and do that whole thing. But that's life experience, and you've had some interesting life experiences. I mean, you've got these hot rod. I guess you're a hot rod aficionado. Is that part of it, or
Yeah.
is it just you
Uh,
love covers?
Well, I love hot rods. I'm kind of into classic cars. I ride a Harley. Surprise,
Mm,
surprise.
surprise.
And when we had a restaurant, and the theme of the restaurant was hot rods and Harleys. I actually had two of my hot rods in the restaurant on lifts, and I had a couple Harleys up on the wall. So that was the theme. So part of the decor were these hot rod magazines. In fact, over here are all the hot rod magazines from the year I was born, 1966. And then over
Oh,
here on this side are these magazines are from the month July of 1966. I even have Playboy magazine from July 1966. So it's just my collection. And my wife thought it would be a cool backdrop for doing podcasts. So sometimes it looks a little busy, but I think it's cool. It's
I
just who I
think
am.
it's cool. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I was a classic car. I owned a 57 Chevy Bel Air at
Okay.
one time. I had a
Cool.
63 Caddy convertible,
Oh
18
yeah.
feet bumper to bumper with gangster white walls and white interior and a black convertible top. I loved it. I love
Yeah.
classic cars. Well, I'm a California guy. Like you were born in California as well, and it's just
Yeah.
ingrained in us. It's a lot different than just it went beyond the functionality of the vehicle. It went into style and brand, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
is this how you've branded yourself? I mean, you said you had a restaurant, and
Yeah.
and this was, I guess, your personal passion. So people associate hot rods with Chris Shurian.
Yeah, part of yeah, that's it. I mean, when I we were developing a resort, so we were building hotels, we were building condominiums, we were building commercial space, and one of the spaces was a restaurant, and I really wanted a restaurant that was cool, that was memorable, that when people came to town, it was in a little resort town, and when they would remember eating at our restaurant. So I couldn't find a restaurateur to open something cool. And so, a friend of mine said, well, just open one yourself. And
Wow.
yeah, I went and found a guy who knew something about restaurants, and he sat down and said, "Okay, let's do this." And he said, "What do you want to theme it?" And I was like, oh, "I don't know. What do I want to theme it?" And he said, "Well, what do you like?" And I said, "Well, I'm into hot rods and Harleys." There you go. We themed the restaurant. Named it after my son. It was called Cody's Gastro Garage. We had big garage doors so we could open up the doors, and we had the cars in there. We'd do a car show every year. I had the Harleys in there. So now I had that restaurant for about 7 years. We sold the resort, and the new owner of the building wanted to do something different. And people still know of Cody's because of the hot rods. They know of Cody's because there was a Harley on the wall. And that's cool. I love doing things that are memorable. I love the customer experience. I'm a customer service fanatic, and so having people walk into my restaurant and the first thing they do is go, "Wow, look at that." I had a 1967 Dodge Charger on the lift, which is kind of a rare car. It's a little funky body style, and it's amazing how many old guys would walk in and just gawk at that thing because they're like, "Oh man, that's such a cool car." So yeah, that was the whole experience and it was awesome. So I think Chris is branded that guy. I mean, I've got a couple tattoos. It's just who I am. I'm very unapologetic for who I am. I'll walk into a business meeting with a multi-gazillionaire, and it's just who I am. And if they want to do business with me, great. If they don't, because of my long hair and my tattoos, well, their loss.
It is what it is. That's your brand. That is who
Hmm.
you are. I have to respect. I don't have tattoos myself out of choice. But there's no judgment against people. I think in the 60s and 70s, if you had tattoos, it only meant one thing: you'd been to prison. But today, it's self-expression.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know, 20 years ago, what would that be? 25, 15, 20 years ago, I was clean cut, suit and tie, and that was the image I portrayed. And part of that was me realizing that I wasn't being true to who I am. So that transition over time is like, well, I'm still me. I'm still an entrepreneur. I'm still good at business. I'm still good at certain things. And so, it's kind of like take me for what I am or don't take me at all.
Well, you came out, so to speak, but you're still
Yeah.
straight. Yeah, okay. Let's just
Right.
stay
Great
the
wife. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's that this is personal brand without even discussing or mentioning that. This is about brand purity, brand authenticity of who Chris is. And I love the idea of having a hook, something memorable, like you said. Where are the hot rods today?
I've kind of I've what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of shrunk my hot rod collection.
Mm.
Um, I have one hot rod right now that is this is kind of a fun little story, but 40 years ago, when I started my first company, I was in construction and I traded some work to my uncle for his old work truck. And I grabbed the truck, I put it to work, and inside the glove box was the original owner's manual of this truck. And I opened it up, and inside the owner's manual, somebody had written down their name, their address, and the day they purchased that truck. And Mitch, the day they purchased that truck was the day I was born. Like the day. July 26, 1966, that truck rolled off the lot the day I was born, and I've kept it ever since, and I've totally restored it. It's a really cool hot rod. I redid everything on the truck except the original paint job, and that's my sole hot rod. But talking about my brand, Mitch, I'll tell you what, my wife and I go places and people remember us. It's amazing. My wife's, quite, like I said, I'm quite fortunate. She's a beautiful young lady. She just really looks good. She puts off a good impression, and we go places and people remember us. We show back up. Even, we had a house in Mexico. We'd go to Mexico, we'd hang out with friends. We'd see people we hadn't seen in years, and they just remembered us because we're very memorable because our personal brand is pretty unique.
Well, and it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. is one definition of a personal brand, or how is it you're perceived and remembered. And I think, I don't know if you could shake the Hot Rod and Harley background. Why did you sell the restaurant? Was it time for a change, or was it?
Mm. Um, the original restaurant in the resort town was part
Mhm.
of when I sold the resort. I sold the buildings, and they just wanted a different approach to the restaurant business, and that's fine. But in the meantime, I decided I'd open two more restaurants. The initial restaurant was about 4 hours from where I live, so I decided I'd open two more restaurants and become a restaurateur.
Not one of the riskiest business ventures. I mean, the failure rate is super high in the restaurant.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I'm no longer in the restaurant business, Mitch. Um, it's a struggle. I had it pretty good up in the first one because we were in a resort town. We just got hammered, and cash flow was good, and cash flow hides a lot of problems, right? But then when you move and open up a restaurant, you're competing with other restaurants, it's different. And so I did that for about 2 years. I closed one of them and actually sold the second one. So I actually had an exit from the restaurant business. My exit wasn't nearly as much as I put into it, but hey, I walked away with a check for X amount of dollars, and it is what it is. But I'll tell you what, I admire people who have success in the restaurant business. It's hard. I exited last year in about November, and yeah, Mitch, if you ever get the idea of wanting to open a restaurant, just send me a check for about
Never,
$150,000, and I'll just, I'll make it easy on you. You know what I mean?
never,
It's
never
crazy.
save you the
Yeah,
headache. That's one business I've never entertained getting involved in. I've been
yeah.
asked, the answer is an emphatic no. I'm not being married to, and it's super personnel heavy, and that can break you.
Oh,
I'm
and it's
sure.
so the margins are so tight. Labor out of control will put you out of business. Oh, look at that! It zoomed out my.
Yeah.
Um, Food costs will put you out of business. Altogether, it's you have to micromanage the hell out of a restaurant. You have to know everything that's going on, and or you have to be big enough that you can just run multiple units, many units, and you can kind of hide, some of those difficulties. But yeah, it's tough. It was a good learning experience. I'm done with that. I moved on. Never
I
do it again.
know.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Well, you get to the point. So what's your greatest success?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. Okay, this
And you
this this
answer that any way you want.
okay. Well, um, I have. It's not business related, Mitch. I
Okay.
mean, I've had some business success, right? I've won awards. I've built companies. I've sold companies. I've had a lot of business success. Um, but I'll tell you what. My 9.5 kids are at our house. They show up. They want to spend time with us. My wife and I, if we go do things and we don't go with friends, typically we go with our kids. We have that relationship, and so this may sound corny, and I don't know. We've gone. But this whole podcast has gone a different direction, hasn't it? We're talking about all kinds of different things, but
Okay.
yeah, my greatest success is my family, my wife, our kids, the relationship I have with them, the fact that they can come and sit at our bar and talk, and we listen, and they just want to hang out with us. I mean, at this point in my life, I'll be 60 in a few months,
Hmm.
and having my kids close and seeing what hard workers they are, seeing how they are productive members of society, they're all contributing, they're all giving back. And then I have to admit, it's pretty funny that my girls, I have two girls that are total daddy's girls. We always go on Instagram. We find these reels about when the girls turn into their dad, and it's like I feel like they're proud of me being their dad, and having that is so that's cool. And so my answer to that question is my family. Absolutely.
And that's rarely discussed. There are two topics that we're told are negatives. Don't bring it up socially, and you're going to get in trouble. One is
Yeah.
politics, which I'll set aside. That's too divisive right now in America. We'll leave
That's a
that
tricky
one
one.
untouched. But
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about religion. because
Okay.
you were raised a member of the Mormon Church, the LDS, Latter-day Saints.
Hmm.
And what happened to you on your journey? Because
Mm.
this might create a little bit of a rift or division, but I'm willing to risk it for the
Yeah.
show
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't think it's a very real topic.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to correct one thing. I know this is not good manners, but this is adds to the story. I joined the church, the LDS church, when I was 19 years old.
Oh, okay. You weren't raised
Yeah.
in. Okay.
No. So I joined the church when I was 19 years old, and then I served a mission for the church in Brazil when I was 21. And two of the best decisions I ever made. It put me on a path. It gave me direction. It taught me so much. I mean, living in Brazil for 2 years, teaching people about religion, it's hard. It's a lot of work, but man, I touched lives, and my life was touched. And then I did it. I came home, and I was very involved and very active in the church for 25 years, and had great experiences. And then at a certain point in my life, I decided that I was living that life as a member of the LDS Church on everyone else's terms. I was doing what I was told I needed to do to be happy in life, and I was. There was a lot of great happiness in my life, but it wasn't complete. And so in my mind and in my heart, I had my relationship with God, okay, changed. And part of that change was that I felt like God loved me for who I was, and and I was actually not living a life that was true to me. And so I transitioned out of the church, and now I have a different relationship with my, God, and I'm happy. I'm good. I'm at peace. I feel comfortable where I'm at. And I think religion is great for some people. My ex-wife, for example, is a very devout member of the church still, and that's where she belongs. It's good for her. That's a good place for her. But for me, it's different. And I don't judge people. I'm not anti-religion. I still defend the church that blessed my life for 25 years. And if people don't want to be a Mormon, then don't be a Mormon, but leave it alone. You know what I mean? If I know a lot of people that are anti-Mormon, and I doubt, whatever. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is. So my religion is more personal now. I'm very spiritual. I have a great relationship with my heavenly Father, is what I call him, and it is what it is. And my kids are probably following in my footsteps a little more than maybe their mothers, which unfortunately has caused a little bit of a divide between them and their mom, it's sad to a certain extent, but it is what it is. And I accept my kids for who they are. I love them. And I think that's part of the reason why they come hang out with us, because they know they're not going to get hammered with unsolicited advice. We're here to listen. If they come to me and want help, I'll help them. If they come to me and want to vent, I'll listen to their venting. I try to be a good example. I try to show them how to treat their spouse. We have a great relationship. In fact, it's pretty hilarious that our kids are sometimes just grossed out by our affectionate way we live our life. We're smooching in front of them. I'm grabbing her butt. We're doing all those silly things as
Disgusting. Keep going.
it's disgusting. Yeah, yeah. And I
You
hope
need
the
to
kids see
repent.
that.
You need to repent.
I do. I do. Well, my wife has a great butt, so I can't keep my
Well,
hands off of
okay, all right. Well, keep your pictures to yourself. This is a
it. Yeah.
podcast.
But that's part of it too. I want my kids to see a very solid relationship between, like, my wife is my best friend. Like, if we're gonna, like, I have guys that say, "Hey, we're doing a guys trip. We're going to South America, blah, blah, blah." Forget it. I don't want to go. I have a group that we go to Baja, Mexico every year on our side by sides and dirt bikes, and we go race around the Baja Peninsula for 5 days. We cover 800 miles. It's dirty, it's messy, it's awesome. And my wife's right there in the passenger seat with me, and she's loving it. And I remember the first time I brought her down there, they all looked at me like, "Dude, you crazy? You brought your girlfriend?" I'm like, "Well, we'll see what it's all about." Man, she had a smile, grin to ear to ear, and now all my buddies are bringing their wives too, because Rachel has so much fun doing it. So yeah, she's my best friend, and we do everything together, and my kids see that, and I hope they marry and experience the same thing that I am right now. It's awesome. So yeah, I forgot what your question was. I just
Well,
get going, Mitch, but
yeah, it's just a conversation. This is
yeah.
typically I'm interviewing CEOs, and you've been a CEO and acted like
Mhm.
that, and authors, people who have separated themselves, but you've uniquely separated yourself with your brand of the hot rods and the Harleys, and you've expressed it with your facial hair with there, and you've got the ponytail in the back, and you've
Yeah.
chosen not to color your hair, whereas yeah,
Who would
yeah.
do that? Who
Who
does
would
that,
do
Mitch?
that?
I don't know.
Oh, who would do that? Well, maybe your host did. And
Maybe.
and I have to address that. It's be real because everybody else, I think was it George Orwell, not George Orwell, or it might have been George Orwell that said, be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
go ahead.
yeah. And well, hey, business wise, I've had success, I've had failure, I've experienced it all. My business, thing is like this chart that goes like this,
Mhm.
and personally, I had great success, and I'm super blessed. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in just be who you are. I coach one-on-one. I coach entrepreneurs and business owners, and I just love it because, sometimes I suffer from that imposter syndrome, right? I feel like, well, who am I? But my experience, I mean, I've had experience in everything. And so it's pretty fun when I sit down with these business owners and they're sharing with me some of their challenges. And I think, well, man, I've been there, done that. Let me share with you what happened in my experience and where it's taken me and what I did. And it's pretty fun. But that's the cool thing about it is I can just be who I am. Um, and it's healthy. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's just authentic, and it's just it is what it is, right? I'm not
Real.
faking it. I'm
It's
totally
real.
real. I'm totally real. Absolutely. Totally real.
No, and I get that. I don't get the false pretenses from you, or you would be here with a tie, and it's amazing. I wore a tie every day for years, and now I don't think I've worn a tie in years, and I'm kind
Thank
of
you.
liking it. And I would wear it for a certain occasion, but I can't imagine going to a men's store today and buying a tie. So we pivot in life, or we perish. How are you seeing AI today? I want to bring in
Ah,
a business topic, and
yeah.
things have
Yeah.
changed and faster than ever with AI. In my years as a business person, like yourself, I don't think there's been anything that has dramatically shifted. There might have been the dot-com boom at one time. What was that in the 90s when we experienced that whole shift? But
Yeah.
AI has made that look like the tortoise. It is certainly a rabbit
Uh,
going in all different directions.
yeah. So this is a good topic. I'm super involved with AI. About 3 or 4 months ago when I exited the restaurant business, and I decided to lean into the, executive coaching, the mastermind group. I do a little public speaking. I decided to really explore and figure out what AI is all about.
Mhm.
When I first heard about AI, I just thought, well, isn't that just Google search? You just go to Google and you say, hey, where's the restaurant? Is that AI? I had no idea. Had no idea. Well, now for me, I even named my chat GPT. He has
Okay.
a name. His name's Elliot,
Okay.
right? And Elliot and I create so much together, and it's like having an assistant in every zoom in, zoom out, in every sector of my business life, I have an assistant. And I can go to my assistant and say, hey, Elliot, what about this? And man, I get answers like just immediately. And hey, I wanted to create, several months ago, I wanted to create a diagnostic um, for assessment for entrepreneurs to kind of gauge where they're at and where their stress levels are at. And I just sat down with my Elliot and said, okay, we're creating this assessment. We're going to do a diagnostic. Here's the results I want to come up with. Here's the questions I want to ask. And I want to be able to rank where people, where they are currently in their stress level. And then as I coach them, we're going to take that assessment so I can see if I've had an influence on, you know, their stress levels. And, I spent probably 3 hours on it. Elliot and I were going back and forth. Elliot was giving me formulas, giving me spreadsheets. I was going back and forth, working on it, and we created this killer diagnostic that works. And man, I don't know how long that would have taken or how much money that would have cost me to hire that out. probably wouldn't have come back. It would have taken weeks to get back. I would have had to go through and hash, red line it and send it back. But AI is amazing. It's fascinating, and I'm learning more and more about it, and I use it every day. I use it on projects. I mean, it's just amazing, and the learning curve was steep, but the more I use it, the more I learn, and the more I can do with it, and it's awesome. I have to say, it's awesome. It's amazing.
Naming your AI, and are you using it for consultations with yourself? Are you using it for, I mean, is it a best friend? I mean, I know you've got your wife as your best friend, but let's say your
Yeah,
digital best friend. And it's something I'm in every single day now. It's
yeah,
my addiction. A healthy one, because I think it does keep, I consult with it. I don't go to Google as much. But if
right.
when I do go to Google, I look at the AI response, and that gives me the detail I want in a snapshot. And then I,
Yeah.
of course, can compare it. And I suspect Google is going to change and evolve, and it already has. There's AI search and all this. So, where do people get in touch with you if they would like some one-on-one coaching? Because I think there are certain listeners that will resonate with you and want to interact with Chris Shurian.
Well, I put together this cool website.
Okay.
I did hire a website builder, but I'm sure he used AI to create my website. But I did a website. It's bootstraps and battlescars.com, or chrisshurian.com. They both go to the same place. And it's pretty simple. You can see my podcast, but there's a information, contact me. It comes directly to me, and I'd love to talk, love to chat. And I just enjoy, what? Mitch, I love serving people. I think I told you earlier, I'm a customer service fanatic. Well, now in my role now as a mentor and a business coach, that's what I'm doing. I'm serving the people, and it's so fun. I just enjoy it. I just love coming out to my office. My office is at my house, and I just love coming out here and working and meeting with people and going to lunch and going to breakfast and doing whatever I can to help somebody be successful in life. And man, it's great. It's been a fun journey, and I've taken all the experiences I've had and thrown them into this opportunity I have now. So I'd love for people to reach out to me and love to keep in contact.
Spell Shurian, just in case. Yeah, so because they're a big audio version, they might not be able to see it on screen here.
Yeah.
So
So
Chris is with a
Chris,
C. Yeah.
Chris, Shurian is Shurian. Bootstraps and battlescars.com.
Bootstraps and battlescars.com. I love that. I love that. That it tells it all. You've had the experience. You've had to bootstrap it sometimes with credit cards. We
Yeah.
do what we do in order to get there. And it's
Yep.
called leverage. It's the American way, isn't it?
And where else can you do that, Mitch? I mean, well, you're living in well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'm out of
it's
the
awesome.
country. Yeah.
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 How many of us have done that? Bootstrapping is just a way of life. And how many businesses started in the garage? You hear about it all the time. And on my podcast, I love to get fellow entrepreneurs on there who have bootstrapped. And, battle scars are the lessons we've learned along the way. And I love to hear their story. And that's what it's all about. We talk about their story, their journey, and that's where the lessons are learned in those battle scars. And I have a few.
Well,
And I've
that's
learned
that's
lessons
good.
from them.
That's where the gray hair comes in. I'm
Yeah.
unwilling to accept mine, so that's why I treat it with a couple chemicals that are there for 20 minutes. But
Well, and I'll have to say the restaurant business probably added to that in the short two, years. Oof, it was harsh.
I can't imagine. And the biggest challenge with any business is something called personnel, and that
Hmm.
in itself could be a whole other topic. I'm going to have you back as a guest in the future for
Oh, I'd love
sure.
it. I would love it. Yeah, let's do
Chris,
it.
thank you so much for your time today as an amazing authority. And we went on the personal level, but I think people enjoy it.
Thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it. That was a good conversation. Didn't go in a direction I was thinking, but it was a good time. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.